Hey there, I'm Elizabeth Henson. Welcome to the Messy Success Podcast, where I'm helping creative dreamers and overachievers tackle business and life. After 6 years of being my own boss, I finally unraveled a tiny bit of what it takes to survive in this amazing world of being an overly creative entrepreneur. I'm your business bestie, here to help you with all those big ideas and to normalize some of the day-to-day struggles that we all share. My mission is simple. I want more women to make a living doing what they love and to feel good about themselves in the process. The best way to start? We can't do it alone. So welcome. I hope you'll hang out with me here where it's totally okay to be messy. Hello and welcome back. Elizabeth Henson here, your host of the Messy Success Podcast. As I mentioned last episode, I am making my comeback from a little leave of absence during the pandemic. All of our lives have been kind of flipped upside down, and we're all just trying to adjust to whatever the new normal is. So this is the new normal, which is a whole bunch of unknown, right? But welcome. I have another special guest with you today who I recorded this amazing interview before we went on leave. So I'm really excited to get these ladies up and running and featured. So today I have with me my friend Tamra. She was a longtime member of our Hampton Roads Creative Network, which most of you know is my local membership, which I have some exciting updates coming soon in my memberships and what all that looks like. But moving forward, everyone is going to be a member of Shine the Light Society, which is my all-inclusive virtual membership, and then we will have the in-person upgrade for my Hampton Roads ladies who would like to continue with our monthly meetings and quarterly headshots. We have recently joined Gather 757 that has opened a building in Virginia Beach, but that allows us to hop between cities, so we can have a meeting in Newport News and then we can have a meeting in Virginia Beach and Norfolk, and they actually have a location in Richmond too, which is super exciting. So more to come on all of that, but I can't wait for you guys to meet Tamra. She is super creative. I love hearing about her pivot from, brick and mortar and how she got started and now how she is a digital CEO as well. She also has a local membership here in Hampton Roads called Core Creatives, which she's going to be telling you more about. But I just loved having her here on the podcast. I was on her podcast as well. We kind of go way back, and I just love seeing our members overlap and all the exciting things that we're doing going on in the community. So welcome, and here is Tamra. Hey, Tamra, thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait to dive in. We were already getting the conversation going, and I'm like, before it gets too exciting, let me go ahead and press record because we're talking about some good stuff. But before we jump back into where we were about busy moms and COVID-19 and all the things, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This is actually such a peace of mind because like you, we are both creatives. And so having dedicated time to just at this point be is really what I need. But it's been a fun, interesting turn of events with this pandemic. And yet the world doesn't stop turning. And our passions, I feel, are bubbling even more than usual. So thank you for having me and letting us express that time together. My name is Tamra Andress, as she said, and I am a faith-based women's business coach, as well as a writer and a wellness advocate and a podcaster and all the things, right? I feel like we all wear all the hats, but overall, I would say as a business coach, I love to just provide people an opportunity to walk in and speak into their callings as they pursue what they feel they're purposed for.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about what does that look like? Do you do mostly one-on-one client work? What does it look like when you are serving your clients?
Yeah. So overall, I have my biggest area of passion and kind of input at this point in my business development are group coaching experiences. So I have a group of women called Core Creatives, and we meet 3 times a month. And this gives them an opportunity to really grow, either whether they're in the launch phase or a relaunch season, or really scaling their business. And so we are either in person or virtual. And my heart started with really being in person, because I feel like what a lot of us are missing in our entrepreneurial journeys is that, loneliness, that isolation of solopreneurship, and feeling inundated all the time by all the resources that are out there, freebies or downloadables or, podcasts like these, and what is the right thing to do for me. And it's different for everyone. So bringing people together and really getting able to collaborate and mastermind, and utilizing each other as a focus group experience. As I've jumped into the one-on-one coaching, I really enjoy seeing the growth that happens in those experiences, because I actually get to not only say press play, but help them press play and walk hand in hand with them during that time. But really, ultimately, I think my heart is just for us to come together in that community over competition space, because I know I've lived in kind of the opposite in my entrepreneurial journey when I first started it out.
Yeah, it can be a really lonely place. Our tribes can really define, our success path. And,
Yeah.
I always say, like, leverage yourself up by the people that you surround yourself with.
It's good. It's very
Yeah.
good. And I
So,
feel like initially when I started, I didn't understand that. And it also wasn't something that was like a banner, right? Like right now, I feel like there's that all the hashtags of community over competition, women supporting women. And that was not around circa, 2009, when I was fresh out of school and jumping into my first entrepreneurial journey. And so I was in the mindset of achievement, because we've talked about this before, both being Enneagram threes, and really like being focused on the fact that I got to do this, and not utilizing my resources and not utilizing my community, and just feeling like I had to do it alone, because it didn't seem like anybody else was exempling it otherwise. And so that really actually hurt me as an entrepreneur in my 20s. And when I took a step back and really came into understanding of my own identity and realizing the importance of community, is when I saw my business like really take off. So I'm so grateful for people who came alongside me and learning to delegate, and people like you who even shined an example on that, because you've done that so well.
oh, thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
I was gonna touch on that. Like, tell people a little bit about how you started out with a brick and mortar. Like, I think that that's so
Yes.
amazing that right out of college you started this boutique, and
Yeah.
it has done really well. Your mom
It
still
does.
runs it, right?
Yeah, she sure does. So it was so crazy, because it was a business project for my junior year College of Business at James Madison University. Go Dukes. And it was an idea that I had to cultivate alongside 6 other students. So we were a team of 7, each in a different like genre of business. So I was business management, and marketing was like where I love to hone in on, but that wasn't my necessary niche at the time. And we cultivated this boutique concept, and it was more than just a boutique, because it had to be $1 million in revenue. And I know my mom would love to say that that's what the business is doing right now, but it's not, especially in this horrible situation with small business disaster, actually. But as I launched into my senior year and everybody was going to job fairs, I just I didn't want to. I didn't feel called to it. I really have always kind of been in leadership roles ever since I was in like 3rd grade. And I couldn't imagine going and working beneath someone. And it's not that I don't appreciate leadership, I absolutely do. But when I did, those personality tests of where you should do and what you should do and how you should do it, I was always in the management role. But you don't get the luxury of jumping out of college into a management role generally. So when I got out, I just knew that I wanted to pursue this passion, and yet I had no money to do so. And lending in 2008 was when the stock market crashed, so that was zero. And so my mom came alongside me, and she was like, let's do this together. So for about 4 years, we did a bunch of small businesses that launched us into the actual boutique phase. So we did something called Beauty and the Beach, was one of my favorites. We actually coached women in the physical fitness HIIT style workouts right on the ocean front, 5 days a week at 5:30 in the morning and 5:30 in the afternoon. And so that was a fun one. And we did, I got my personal training and nutrition license in pre and postnatal personal training, even before I ever was having babies. And so I really loved that niche and knew that it was going to utilize into our business later. And then eventually the boutique, got up and running, and I was still waitressing and doing a lot of stuff, right? Because as entrepreneurs, especially if we don't have the luxury of a fund that we're pulling from, and I didn't by any means. I used every penny that I had, and I still do sometimes. Sorry, hubby. It's something that you have to really know that your passion it weighs more than your pocketbook, and that's where I am right now.
I love that. I had no idea you did the pre and postnatal workouts. What a cool
Yeah.
niche.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I loved it. I even went into people's homes and helped them, which was so cool because I got to experience the babies like those first couple weeks. So I've always loved little kids. My mom has run a daycare and preschool in her home for 30 plus years, which is, I think, where the entrepreneurial blood comes from because she's always showcased that for us.
Yes, absolutely. My mom was an artist, and she quit like being a nurse in the emergency room
I
and
love
just like
that.
to do pottery full time. So it was,
God,
same
that's
thing,
amazing.
just
Yes.
like seeing her kind of be her own boss and just like screw the 9 to 5.
Yes. And the resource that they got to be to us as children. Like I want that for my kids. I want to be there for them. Now, do I want to be there like I'm here right now for them? Mm-mm. I love them. I love them to death. But holy cow, 5 and 6 year old running a full time passion project. And I also still have a career that I am getting to jump out of in June. So I'm so looking forward to that. But it's been bananas during this COVID situation.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's really hard. Like part of me is like, okay, like this is kind of business as usual, like working with my kids home. But, I went from 15 solid hours to like maybe 3. I don't even know. It's
Yay. So
just
you're going to have a new downloadable coming out, How to Do Your Business Week in 3 hours.
oh my gosh. Yeah, how to survive, right? Like,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
the thing. I feel like, we have to make choices.
Yeah.
And I had just brought the podcast back right before COVID hit. And, it's just one of those things where I was like, okay, I've got 2 or 3 episodes that are ready, but I have to make these choices like day
Yeah.
in and day out. So, I next week is my goal to start getting these episodes out, but it's like we
Good,
just have
good.
to give ourselves all the grace right now,
We
right?
do. We absolutely do. And I think the biggest thing for me, and I was telling my husband about this, is just the amount of inputs happening. And usually like my home is the place that I can't wait to be. And right now I'm like, I can't wait to leave. And I think everyone
Yeah.
probably feels that way, but I don't want that to be my mindset. So just trying to minimize the inputs as much as possible. That's inclusive of my phone and social media and with all the Zoom calls happening with education, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's such a great time for it though. I feel like people
Yeah,
need the community now more than ever.
it's true.
So quick question as we're
Yeah,
talking about all this, and
yeah.
now I know you're a pro. So one good thing that I think will come out of COVID for my family and I don't know about everyone else, but like because we're sequestered in our house, right? And I'm like you,
Yeah.
where I'm like dying to get out. It's becoming like so much more second nature to get out and walk or jog.
Yes, yes.
So I'm like, okay, this could actually be really good for like my fitness journey. Um,
Agreed. I so agree. And I hope that people take advantage of that because so often, if you ask people why they don't, or you hear the struggles, it's time. And
mhm.
so now we're in it in abundance. It looks very different. And maybe our time is limited in specific pursuits. Like I don't get to just sit down and read a book, and neither do you with the age of our children right now. But definitely working out because our kids can do it with us. And that's been
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah, and we are lucky that it's springtime, so we're having
Yes.
like some really good days and my husband and I just swap, like I'll watch the kids and he'll go running and do his pull-ups and whatever he does and then we'll swap
Whatever
and
he
then
does.
I'll go walk or jog or whatever I feel like doing that day, but it's like that there's a little bit of an opportunity there cuz
There
I'm,
is. There is. I actually launched a little thing yesterday. You should totally jump on because it's just starting today. Is 30 burpees for 30 days to beat the 30-day quarantine.
Oh, I love it.
And
I love it. So are you
so,
doing
yeah,
30 every single day or are you
every
working your way
day.
up?
And
Okay.
if you skip, you have to compound.
Oh my
So that
God.
means the next day you would have 60. Now I'm taking this down from a 50 burpee challenge for 30 days that was presented to me last summer. And I didn't make it the entire time because at one point I owed 200 burpees,
Oh
which
my
just
gosh.
was impossible. At one time I did complete 150 and I was back on track. And then I was on vacation and all the excuses, right? But so I wanted to make it a bit more manageable. Plus, I love play on words anyway, so using the 30 to its advantage. But I'm excited to get it done today in between podcasting and my Core Creatives virtual live later.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hate burpees. I
Do you?
absolutely, and I know they're so good for you though,
They
right?
are.
Like
They're so much
they're very
full body.
rewarding.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, but every time at the gym, because I do the like high intensity short
Yep.
stuff, and like
Yep.
every time the burpees come up, I'm like,
You're like,
no.
no. My girlfriend was like, I'll participate, but I'm doing my push ups separately. And then I'll do half burpees with no push up in the middle of it to just do the jumping mechanism. I'm like,
Okay, I can get
girl.
down with that
So
because
maybe that's your
I
mod.
yes, like I'm actually really good at push-ups. Like push-ups
Yeah.
are good for me, but the burpee and the push-up together is like,
Yeah.
oh
It's
no.
hard. And she has lower back pain, which I do too. So I totally get it. I'm like, let's deal with the ailments. Let's go. You got it.
Mm-hmm.
I expect you
Yes.
to tag me later when you do it.
Okay, you got it.
You're like, okay, great.
Well,
You
and
just
now that I
committed
know
for
you have
me.
all this like the postnatal experience, so one thing
Yeah.
that I feel like is like a little bit of a hurdle that I'm like I just
Mhm.
can't wait to be done breastfeeding,
Yes.
because I do feel like with my workouts, there's that fine line of like keeping an eye on your milk supply, your boobs always
Totally.
hurt, like
Yep.
and it's like a little like I'll go really hard one day and then my boobs will hurt for like 2 days. I even had mastitis when I first
Oh
started running
no,
again.
it's the worst. Are you
So
wearing two sports bras?
yes, and I feel like that's
Yeah.
really the only way to survive, but
Right,
then
right.
but then it's like
The
it's
pressure.
so tight.
Yep,
Yes,
yep,
yes.
yep. You have to be mindful of like when you're getting ready with those two sports bras, when you're actually going to work out and then taking them off
Like
because
right away.
there's so many pieces to that puzzle. And obviously water being one of the main
Oh, and
components,
I'm horrible about my
which
water. I need to buy one of those water bottles that's like
the
a little bit
giant.
more, you're almost
Yes,
there.
yes. It like dings you, it pings your
Yes.
phone. Do they have those yet? They need that.
They do have some, I think, that, like, have an alarm or some type of,
Yes.
like, flashing light, I don't know. I know
It's
I need
hilarious.
it, though, because I'm
Yeah, that's hilarious.
horrible about drinking my
Yeah.
water. I drink, like, the bubblies and the sparkling
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
but that's still not nearly enough.
Right. It's not. Yeah, because those little tiny cans. I've
Yeah.
got my, what is this? How many ounces? 50.7 ounces sitting right next to me.
Oh my
You can't see
gosh.
it.
I
Yeah.
got
I
it.
just have time stamps. I know I have to drink half by noon, or not half, the whole one of these by noon, and then another one by 8 p.m. So I give myself a little bit more grace in the afternoon. But
Are you peeing all the time, or does your
I
body
do. I
adjust?
do. Nope.
Okay.
It never adjusts. And I already pee so much. So, like in the middle of the night, I will wake up by myself without my children's help 3 times to pee.
Oh my
No joke.
god.
So, I'm like the worst car ride companion, just
Ugh.
FYI.
See, to me, then I'm like, "Is it worth it?"
Is it worth it? It's totally not worth it on days that I wear rompers. I hate that they
Oh,
came back in style because I love them. But
yes.
holy cow, like being butt naked 24/7 in the bathroom stall at a school is not ideal.
Oh my gosh. I know. I went to this conference with like 300 people and I remember
Mhm.
like debating on my outfit
Yes.
and there was like 300 people to like 2 bathrooms and I remember being like, "Thank God I didn't choose the romper
Yes.
because I need to be as fast as possible
Yes.
right
And
now."
people are like staring at you through the cracks, like, what is she doing?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's funny.
Like here we go with the
I
banter. I love it.
know. It's so funny.
Okay, so I know you touched on this a little bit,
Yeah.
but you said that the community aspect was kind of lacking when you first
Yeah.
started your entrepreneurial journey, and now
Mhm.
you're like full force, like head in. Tell me a little bit about like how has community actually helped you grow? Like, what are some of those milestones where you're like, I would not be at point
Good.
B if it wasn't for point A where I had so and so that really like, a group or maybe a coach that you had or
Yep.
just a relationship with a peer. Like, oh my gosh, the stuff that you and Tiana are doing together is
Yes,
amazing.
it's so fun. Yeah, there are so many pieces I can think of, but I think to fully start it out, because like I said, I went into this a bit of an isolation stage when I quit 2 different CEO positions. And now, like, I just call myself an entrepreneur because I don't ever want to carry that title again because it feels like too much from a CEO perspective. But when I went into this time of just like self-awareness, self-identity, coming in tune with who I am, I realized that I was really lacking in in-depth relationships. And so through that time, obviously my like passionista side, and that's kind of the term that I use for all of my girls who are pursuing their passions, is I still wanted and was hungry for that. And so I knew that that was a part of who and what I'm purposed to be, who I am and what I'm purposed to be. And so I got involved in something called the Influencer Academy. And simultaneously, I was doing my ordination and minister's license. And both of these programs you're doing alongside big groups. And I had never really done anything outside of the business group that I had mentioned from college. And so this was really new to me to like communicate and ask questions and lean on each other for different expertise. And just honestly being authentic, I think was what I was looking for and searching for, and I never found previously in that entrepreneurial space. Everything looks like, shiny, it seemed. Everyone was succeeding and everyone was making the money and doing the things and living their best life. And honestly, from the back end, once you actually get into that, that is all smoke and mirrors. And
Mm-hmm.
so going through those two programs were the self-awareness piece for me, where I realized, oh wow, none of this can be done alone. And so when I was really hunting for like, what's the next step and what do I want to do for my, my life really, I realized I need to continue this pursuit of like relationship and specifically with women. And I had been kind of a guy's girl growing up. That's what I always called myself anyway. And I didn't really have like a ton of best girlfriends. And even the ones that I did, I wasn't who I am now, that's for sure. And so I didn't do myself or them like enough to even think about the fact that what my relationships are like now. There's so much depth to them. There's so much transparency. And that is what I wanted to bring into the business world, is that piece in vulnerability and knowing that we're not just wearing business hats. We're wearing the motherhood hat. We're wearing a wife hat. We're wearing the pursuit of best self and awareness of who we are all simultaneously. And so it was really important to me when I was getting to know new people and leaning on new people that we were in this together. And as they grew their passion, I would be growing mine. So people like Morgan, who came in and just started plug and playing with creativity and logos and branding and design. She was like my first, I consider her, my go-to for any of that stuff. And then the core creatives team, when they launched, that was really just a group of friends I brought together. They had no idea what they were coming into the room for. And I just called them out as passionates. And I was like, you guys are all in pursuit of something. And it seems silly for us to all do it alone. And so to see where that community has come from since January of 2019 to now, where there's complete strangers coming in saying, hey, I need help. And it's done so with such grace and beauty, and seeing people catapulted. I literally can't imagine doing it alone. And then when you exampled it, like I said earlier, like I got to be a part of your group and seeing those women come, and again, just being authentic in who they are, and everyone had their own niche, but yet you got to rely on each other. And isn't that the point? Like, we're not in this life by ourselves. So why not lean on each other for what they're good at and celebrate them for that?
Yes, absolutely. And,
Sorry, that was a really long answer. I hope
no.
that touched on all the things.
No, 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 I love it though. But and I always tell people like it's being top of mind. Like the more relationships you have,
Totally.
the ability you have for not only your business but their business to be top of mind for
True.
so many more people. And
Yeah.
I think so many people just have, the pride is a big factor, and
Yep.
they want to just do it alone. And I still catch myself doing that in certain areas, like, oh, I don't need to ask for help. I can do this part alone. But like, we can expedite the process if
Totally.
we
Yeah.
have people that we can lean on for sure.
And I think nowadays there's so many resources we can use in that like help space. I mean, there's 1,000 groups on Facebook that you can literally go in and ask a question. And because of that pride piece, I think it's a part of it always. Like everyone wants to help. They want to be the first to answer your problem or your question so that they can coach you or whatever it be. But I think honestly, there's a lot of non-ulterior motives in those where people just truly are like, hey, use this resource, use this link, go to this YouTube channel. One thing that has been helpful for me is that Fiverr app, which is where you can hire people around the world to help you in areas that are your zone of incompetency. And so I've had people who are doing, show notes for podcasts, for instance. I have no desire to spend an hour re-listening and writing all of this out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she does that. And it's been such a resource because these people, you're not only providing them support for the things that they're really good at, you're helping their family and you're helping their well-being. And the girl who does mine, she lives in Jamaica. So it's been interesting to hear about her COVID experience while she's doing it. But at the same time, we've turned into friends because she listens to every word that comes out of my mouth for an hour at a time. And
Exactly.
she's
Yeah.
like, this is so fun. I love what you're doing. We don't have anything like this here. So just cool. Community is so cool. And if we can just learn to like you said, give up that pride piece and just kind of wave your white flag. We're all waving our white flags in some regard. And so
Yes.
just coming into connection with that and saying, I've got you, girl, I think is
Yes,
awesome.
absolutely. And when you mentioned Facebook groups, one of my favorite things to do, and I try to teach my students to do this too, is like when we go in those Facebook groups and we're reading those threads, instead of like looking at them in a self-serving way, I'm always like,
Yes,
who in my communities can I tag?
it's
And
good.
I will like play this little game where I go through the threads and I'm like, oh, they need a website. Got you. Like, and I'll tag this person in my community.
Cool.
Oh, you need, a life coach. Oh, I'll tag this person in my community. And it just was like an opportunity that we can you know,
That's
con-
really good.
continue to serve, the women in our communities or,
Yeah.
just, I always say I like to practice what I preach. And like,
Yeah.
I can't be out there teaching people to, practice community over competition if I'm not doing it myself.
Truth, truth, truth. It's
Yeah.
been interesting in the group that I've connected that's local, not the virtual ones as much, though they've come into play a bit more in the last couple months, is that it's almost like this it's like a co-working experience in the sense that every time we come together somebody needs somebody else's services, and so we have cultivated so much business just within this group because there's the website designer, there's the logo creator, there's the copywriter, there's the photographer, the branding photographer, there's the videographer, there's the health and wellness coach. It's been really neat to see how so many different people coming together, they actually create like their own little hub or tribe of their business. And so thinking about business growth, I mean, these women are going to think back a year from now and be like, how did you get started? If that same question was presented to them from a community standpoint, they're like, well, shoot, I couldn't have done it without these 20 women. Basically, you have
Hmm.
20 women, a 20-person team that you're not paying. Though we pay them from a services perspective, but like it's so awesome to have that support.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. So good. Okay, so we talked a little bit in the beginning about how you're very multi-passionate, and I've been generating a lot of buzz around the multi-passionate space because Sharon and
Yes,
I
me
are
too.
hosting a mastermind specifically for multi-passionates. But like, as like clearly as you can, like, how
Mm-hmm.
would you define your bucket? So for me, I like to say I have photography, podcast, two memberships. Like, so that's four kind of buckets that I'm pouring into.
Ooh.
So how
Okay.
like, how would you clearly define your bucket?
Yeah. So I'm in a redesign of my website right now. And it's not actually a redesign, it's an entirely new website. So I'm excited about that. So this has been an area of focus for me and really honing in. And so business coaching, events, podcasting.
Gotcha.
Boom.
Very cool. So Core Creatives is under the business coaching umbrella.
Correct. One-on-one or core creatives. Yep. Would be the coaching. And then my events would be both virtual and in person because I still want to host my retreats.
Mhm.
I love that time and that quality time and just growth that you get to see from the relax and rejuvenation piece. And then podcasting is something that's so fun. That's one of my
I love
favorites.
it. And, so Tiana, you met at one of my events, right?
I did. Yeah.
Creative Network.
Yep.
She was like my little plus one. And you guys have teamed up for so much like awesome
Oh
stuff.
my gosh. I love
What are you
her.
2 have like what are you working on right now?
Yeah, so we have a monthly webinar that we do. It's called Sister Sister. And just like Tia and Tamara, remember the 90s show? I love it. We always play the intro music and I dance ridiculously and it's so fun. But we like to choose topics that we know are, strong in women's hearts specifically. And then we kind of just conversate back and forth about it, how God's been speaking to us in that regard, or lessons that we've learned, and tips and tricks to get through it. Additionally, she's a part of my core creatives team. So her photography piece has been huge for her growth. She uses a lot of our girls for brand ambassadors, and we will be doing in-person and virtual workshops in regards to women branding and building their businesses.
I love that. Like that relationship.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love
Oh,
to watch you guys because I'm like, they
yes.
met at a dinner. I love it.
We
Like,
did. We sat next to each other, and I was like, she told me what she did because she's a boudoir photographer. She's way more than a boudoir photographer, but that's one of her buckets for her multi passionate space. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, oh, great. Okay, this is going to be interesting. And I've told her this story before, but then she was like, I'm not like your standard, and nothing against boudoir photographers, but I'm just in this space where like I need constant sanctification, if you will, and constant just like purity mindset. Like I need to be out of the world as much as I can. And so she showed me her work, and I was just like light and airy and angelic. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you. Why do you do this? Tell me more. So we really did bond. And that was such a fun dinner, such a cool time to bring
yeah.
people
And
together like that.
I think the work that both of you guys do, with the COVID-19 stuff, she was on a mastermind call the other day and,
Yeah.
it's hard, right? Like it's hard for us to show up and feel valid in the work that we're doing when we know that the world is in so much pain. But, the work that you two do is going to become so important because, people are going to be more depressed than usual, more
Yeah.
alone than usual, and they're really going to need the help when it comes to like confidence and showing up for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, something important that we can even talk about now is like there's a part of me obviously that is hugely upset and worried and fearful. But there's also this other massive part of me that is just like, oh my gosh, this is a huge opportunity for women and virtual learning and growth. And like you said, like from a mind, body, spirit perspective, like we have opportunity to really focus in here mentally and grow physically and spiritually and have time and resources to do it right now. And resources to some, everyone's thinking from a monetary perspective because a lot of people are hurting in that regard. But there are so many free resources for us to be able to use and grow. And I hope that people don't freeze during this time of isolation, but instead they do take the opportunity to grow and learn. Because if we're not growing, we're dying.
Yes, exactly. And I even like the first couple of days, like Sharon and I were like in the middle of launching our event, right? Like this was our
Yeah.
entire like revenue generating
Oh
activity
gosh.
for Q2,
Yes.
two in-person events with a 6-month mastermind, and we were launching to our wait list when COVID hit.
Oh,
And we literally like looked at each other and we're like, it's an in-person event, like we have to put a pin in it.
yeah.
And like that was so hard. And I retracted for a couple of days, like what
Yeah.
looking at the news, like what are we going to do? But then I think we all retract and then we start to like
Mhm.
reemerge and like, okay, things are going to look different and this is going to be hard. But you know me, like I am such a stickler about not giving away things for free, right? And setting
Yes.
setting those boundaries.
Yes.
But like my husband and I were talking and he's like, this community stuff, he's like, people are gonna need it now more than ever. And I'm like, I know. So I was like, what can I do? Like, how can I show up
It's good.
and serve, right, during
Hmm.
this hard time?
Yep.
Because I know if I do that, it'll not only help them, but it will help myself. Like reemerge
Definitely.
that people really do need this and it's okay to show up like in times of crisis. And so that's why I started doing the mastermind calls for free, which is something I would never
Whoa, I
do.
didn't know that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. But
Yeah.
it is true that it's just if I just did a challenge actually. I was in somebody else's challenge and it was called Love, Serve, Grow. And it was so timely. It was probably the beginning, maybe the very first 2 weeks in March. So again, prior to this happening, and we had no idea that any of this was really going to transpire the way that it has. And it was such a reminder point of the whole reason that I know you do what you do, the whole reason that I do what I do, and so many people that I'm surrounded by is because we love it. And it's not a self righteous or a self seeking experience. Otherwise, we would just stay bubbled up and not share it. And we're sharing the things that we've learned, and we're sharing the things that we're passionate about because we want others to understand the goodness that comes from it. There's so much wealth in growing something that you love and doing it with a community of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
So,
I love that you're serving your community in that way. That's beautiful. And
yeah,
again,
and I
pushing back in
need
that
to
top of
like
mind.
yeah, and I need to focus a lot on the nurture
Yes.
aspect. Like I've kind of nailed like the implementing and I'm like but
Mhm.
I kind of like slacked on the nurture because,
Good.
it's like life happens and you have a baby and you're like I need to be constantly building as I'm implementing and the two are really crossing over nicely where it's like I'm being able to serve people and give them a space, but it's also an opportunity, like you said, for me to kind of build that know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. And again, like you're gonna see so much fruit from that experience that women are just gonna continue to just be thankful. And ultimately, I think that's where all of us need to be and stay in this time is just in a mindset of gratitude.
Yes, and it's so hard, but gosh, one thing I'm holding on to, and I'm sure you and a lot of people listening saw this, is one of those things that's floating around right now that's, shares that this is an opportunity for our kids to have like some of the
Yes.
best memories of their childhood, right? Like we're going to remember COVID one way, but they're going to
Yes.
remember sleeping in and playing board games and
Mhm.
this could possibly be some of their best memories. And I'm like really trying to hold on to that
Oh,
and I get
yes.
frustrated.
Me too. Gosh, I'm like literally visually in my mind because I'm such a visual person thinking of my children's hands beneath the door yesterday when I was in my room and I was like, you guys, I just need a couple minutes to myself. And their fingers are on the door. They've been with me, mind you, for 7 hours at this point.
Yes.
And they're like, Mommy, Mama, Mommy. And they're like playing, but at the same time, like I'm about to go crazy. So
Yes.
I don't know how I need to remind myself. Maybe I need to change like, I don't know, words in my on my wall, on my written wall, so that I can remind myself of that. That's a good visual for us to keep in mind. They love us. They just want more of us. Like
I
their highs
know.
every day when I ask them about their highs and lows is I got to play with you and I got to snuggle you longer or I got to sleep in your bed last night because we don't ever allow that during the school week. So
Mhm.
there's a lot to be grateful for. There's a lot that makes my heart light, and then there's a lot that makes our hearts heavy. So it's a matter of balancing in that. And I think when you were on my podcast, we talked a lot about that with all these different things going on, and now kind of being doing all those things while stuck in your house with everything at once. Where's the
Mhm.
balance point? Like, how are we finding balance to those pieces of who we are?
Yes, and, gosh, I was talking to, my friend Angie yesterday, and, she was talking to her sister who works a 9 to 5 and was like,
Hmm.
"This is so beautiful, we get this time with our kids," and, like, totally different experience for them, right? Like, they're going from hardly seeing their kids to seeing their kids all the time, which when I was a teacher, like, snow days, like, bring it on.
Yes,
But,
of
like,
course.
we're in this weird space as entrepreneurs that work at home, it's like we already get so much more time with our kids than the average working mom. So it's like it's a little bit
That's so
different of an
true.
experience for us where we feel like we're
Yes.
being a little bit robbed of like the little bit of time that we did have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear that over and over. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I was just saying that I feel like the best mom. And then 5 minutes later, I'll feel like the worst mom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then 5 minutes later, I feel like the best mom. And then 5 minutes later, I feel like the worst mom. So
Yes.
it's just a matter of juggling it all. And also, you said at the very beginning, just giving ourselves grace because this is a season that will pass. This is a
Mhm.
time that will go away. And how are we going to remember it? And I really don't want to remember it like I'm remembering it now, which is honestly a lot of state of overwhelm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And, like I need to say yes when my kids are like, "Mommy, will you play with me?" It's like not
Yes,
every time, but there's
right.
I need to choose a couple times throughout the day and say yes. And
That's so
I'm really
true.
struggling with the homeschooling because, I don't have a lot of windows of opportunity to spend with just Gracie. And her
Sure.
assignments are not really self-sufficient at this point. Like I can't
Nope.
just put her on the modules where she gets to hit next. Like
Yes,
I
we were
have
just
to
talking about that as an
yes.
administration this morning because that's what my other other job is I'm at a school. And so this experience from virtual learning, I'm experiencing it as a parent, just like you are, in that they're too little. They can't do it by themselves. We have to be there with them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's 3 hours a day that I'm dedicating in that regard. And then also wanting to make it fun and interactive. And then also from an administrator way of what's too much, where should we be focusing our attention, does it really matter if my 5 and 6 year old finished their PE assignment or their art activity? They're going to be fine, right, in the long run. But
Right.
is it important for the sixth grader who, outside of their virtual learning experience, is likely on an iPad? So it's so hard. There's so much to take into consideration.
Yeah, I'm finding it like pretty close to impossible. We do get like a little bit done each day, but I can't get through every single assignment because, I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old,
Yes,
and
so
and my
much.
husband's doing the majority of the working from home. So to have time with Gracie alone, because
Yep.
the other two are distractions at this point, for
Yep.
her learning, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, that's really tough. And, it's such an insight into homeschooling parents anyway. And I have a lot of
Mhm.
girlfriends who homeschool already. And I've always been in admiration of them because I just always knew that this wasn't for me, but now I don't have a choice. It is for me. And
Yes.
so giving that, like just seeing all of the work and effort and energy that they put into their children on a given basis is beautiful, and wanting all the bits and pieces of advice that I can possibly gather. But again, knowing that our kids are still little, we're so great, like we're so in good standing in the fact that 3 months from now they go back to school in the fall, they're going to be fine. But
Yeah,
I
and that's
know
what my
for
husband
high
keeps reminding
schoolers,
me of.
it's
He's like,
hard.
"She's fine. She's fine. Like, she's a smart kid. She's gonna be
Yes,
fine.
he'll
Even if
be
you don't do
okay.
anything, she will be fine."
Yes,
And I'm like, "But that's
yes.
not the point. Like, this is my job."
So true. It's
Oh my
so true.
gosh.
And I think we were talking as an administration, like, how can we reevaluate what the schedules that are being given now? Because you can't possibly expect that they're going to go through every subject matter that they were previously in a given day
Mhm.
at home, because it's just not the same, and it's truly just not possible from all
0,
ends, not
4.
only from the parental perspective but from the child's perspective, because now you've not only wearing the mom hat but now you're a teacher, and
Mhm.
there's like different respect and different boundaries and all of those things. And so we as a school are really honed in on those spices, and that's the testimonies of simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. And if that's where our hearts are, where does math fall into that, or where does literacy fall into that? And us really taking a step back and saying, at the end of all of this, where would we rather our children be? Like top 100, like top of the class, or happy and like
Mhm.
healthy and whole
Absolutely, yeah.
and sane and not hating school and not hating their teachers? We just want them to also be able to find some enjoyment in this gift of time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
It's
Gracie
hard.
was so excited the first couple of days, and now that's like fizzled out, and she's like, "We can do it later." And of course, I'm like trying my best to stick to some type of
Yes, some
routine that's
schedule,
pretty much
yes.
impossible. Like, oh my
Yes,
gosh, yeah.
it's so true.
I know, but my therapist actually gave me the best advice, and she's like, "You just need to redefine what a successful day looks like." Because I
Mm,
was like, "I'm failing my
that's
daughter in her
good.
homework."
Yeah,
She's
that's
like,
really good. It's so true.
yeah.
I had always said prior to, especially because I was already juggling, all those multi-passionate spaces of my life, and you do the same. Every day at the end of the day with reflection, I would think to myself, how did I move the needle today? And to me, it didn't always mean that it was in a business perspective or a passionate perspective in regards to any sort of business or even my jobs, but really just in my moral barometer, in my physical barometer, in my spiritual barometer. How did I move the needle? And if I could say that I moved it forward, then I know tomorrow I get to start at a better place than I started today. And I think that that's where we need to just remind ourselves every day. It's not about this grandiose day. It doesn't always have to be, full school, full happiness, full physicality. You cooked the meal, you did the cleaning, like everything's not going to look like that. And so
Mhm.
to reevaluate that and just know at the end of the day, there was a needle that was moved. Maybe it was on the growth of your child's mindset or their physicality, and you weren't a part of that. Then that's the mom scale that was moved, right? But then knowing the next day, like, I got to get some creative space done or I'm going to go bonkers. So I get
Yeah,
it.
but, like, forward movement, no matter how
Yeah.
fast or slow, is better than no
Yeah.
movement at all, for sure.
So true.
Yes.
I wish I was the type of person that like did the whole Netflix thing, but that's like not me at all. And I keep seeing all these threads like, what Netflix series should I watch? And I'm a little bit envious, but then at the same time I'm like, I don't need any of that. But I want to be that slow paced person that's just drinking tea and sitting by the fire, but I am not. And so I'm trying to figure out if there is a day of the week that I can maybe try to be that person, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can tell because I was not a TV person for years. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much since I quit teaching, like, or since I picked up a camera, pretty much. I
Yeah.
I gave up on TV altogether because I just was too busy. Like, I would
Oh my
rather
gosh.
use
Yeah.
that
Editing
pocket of
and
time.
shit.
Yes. But let me
Hmm.
tell you what, like, in the last, I don't know, year, maybe, I think This Is Us, when that show kind of
Yes.
started coming
Yes.
out,
So good.
is when I started, like, letting myself kind of, like, divulge a little bit. I say letting
Yeah.
myself like it's not okay, but, like,
It's true.
because to me, it feels like I'm giving up something, right?
Yeah,
Like, I have to
sure.
give up doing laundry, I have to give up
It's a choice,
working at my
definitely.
computer to, like, dive into a show. But
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I want you to try to be a Netflix girl
Okay.
because it helps me, like, escape
Yeah.
reality, and
Yeah.
it gives my brain a break because I'm sure
Yeah.
your work
The
brain is very
same.
similar to mine. It never slows down. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night with
Yep.
ideas, right?
Yeah.
And to allow myself to, like, slip into this TV show,
Yeah.
it's like it's been a little therapeutic for me because it's like it takes me out of my own life, like, temporarily.
I think that's
Yeah.
why I like movie date nights so much for that exact
Mhm.
reason. And most
It's
people
an
are like, "Oh,
escape.
we don't do movies." I'm like, "Oh, we do. We are exhausted." That's the place that we get to go and just rest. And we go to, dinner before and connect in that way. But I do see that. And I was on the This Is Us like first season. I would watch it the moment it came out. I'm
Mhm.
definitely a season behind right now, but I know the value in it. It's just finding the what's
The
the
time,
word?
like, you have to
The
sacrifice something.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
like
and
I
making
have my
that
couple of
choice.
shows now that I started, so when I was pregnant and then my
Yeah,
maternity leave, so I have, like,
definitely. And maternity leave, that's a whole nother thing though. So I totally agree that I remember when I was nursing, I was doing that all the time. I was like, okay, yay, I got my show and my baby on my boob and we're good to go.
Yeah, yeah, and, I haven't, like, brought on any new shows, but I'm just keeping
Yeah.
I think I have, like, 3 or 4 that I keep up with, and, I just kinda work it into my week. Like, last night, I watched an episode right before bed when Mark was working, and
Yeah.
it really has become, like, something that's joyful, that's just me,
That's
and I know
good.
that sounds
That's
crazy.
good.
My
No, it
husband and
doesn't.
I love to watch Parks and Rec. That's, like, our husband and wife show.
Okay. Is that a funny one? Is that one
It's
funny?
so funny. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
see, and that's a good thing. A good laugh. We all need a good laugh right now.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just love that
My
show so much.
boss constantly tells me about one about moms. Have you heard of
Working
this one?
Moms?
Yes.
I
Is
couldn't
that
get
good?
past the first
Couldn't
episode.
get
I've
it.
heard it's good, but I couldn't, like, get
I
sucked
think
in.
he told me that specifically. He said, "You have to get past the first episode." He told
Yeah.
me that. So, well, I don't know. We'll see. I say that I'll do it, but check in with me in a month and I'll let you know.
Oh my gosh. Well, if your husband and you need one to watch together, Parks and Rec, it's kind it's, it's, like, similar to The Office, but not really, but it's
Okay, well,
similar
Office is
humor.
his favorite. We watched This Is Us together, so we'll just have to pop that back
Okay,
on, I
if he
guess.
liked The Office, he will like Parks and Rec.
Okay, cool. We'll
Okay,
check
now
it
that we've done our
in.
Netflix
Sorry, y'all.
review.
This is important. Netflix is good.
I know, oh my gosh. Okay, so I know, like, one of your tips is
Yeah,
that what you just told us about moving the needle. I think that's a
yeah,
great tip for us to sit back and kind of audit,
yeah,
what we actually accomplished for the day. That's like a gratitude journal, right?
definitely.
But what are some of your, like, go-to, like, quick actionable tips that you give your students? Like, I feel like we're all, as coaches, like, kind of known for, like, these quick
Yeah,
philosophies or tips. Like, what are a few
yeah.
of yours that you'd like to share?
So I think the mind, body, soul alignment is probably what a lot of people know me for because when I first launched into my business, I had an umbrella of my business called Fit and Faith, and that was outside of the core creatives, which in my new branding that will be dropped outside of my podcast. So that will be interesting. But this concept of wholeness is so important to me. And I think as entrepreneurs, we so often think that our business mind or our passion pursuit is one entity of who we are, but it's really not. It is an all encompassing part of who we are, because you're putting your heart, you're putting your mind, and you're putting your body into this space, in this place that you are looking to grow, and not just for yourself, but as we talked about, for the service and the love and growth of others. And so in that Moodle movement, in that Moodle, I said Moodle, I don't even know what that means. That's awesome. In the needle movement, to really make sure that you're able to check each of those areas. So how did I move the needle mentally? How did I move the needle physically and then spiritually? Because when you can get, and it's not a balance point, even though we talk about balance a lot, because that's a word that people can visually understand, you're never going to be equally balanced. You're never going to be on this playing field of, I've got it all right. There's always going to be a bucket that's more full than the other. But for us to be mindful of the buckets that become empty and really make sure that we hone in to try and get those all to similar balance points, that would be one thing that I think is really important. And then from a true like business perspective, my tips and tricks, I have so many, but I think a lot of them that I really value are about harnessing and concentrating on how you spend your time, and time blocking, or MIT list, which is like your most important task list, or creating evergreen content so that it's working for you and not against you, and also while you're sleeping, and something you can pull back on a year from now that still is relevant today. And so I really want people to know, especially with how valuable our time is in this precious time, that you need to be doing things in your business, and you should be doing things in your business that really help your growth from a perspective of value. What value are you adding with the time that you're investing, and knowing that people are waiting for it and they need it. And so just being conscientious of where you're putting your time. And that's the same thing if you're looking at it from the perspective of your mental, physical, and spiritual health.
Yes, absolutely. Like, especially for newbies, like the time audit is huge. Like,
Mm,
people say, "Why am I not getting clients? Why is my business not growing?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, tell me what you do in a day." And there's like, they don't even mention that they worked on their business. And I'm like, "You literally are what you focus on. So
yes.
go tell me you're spending 6 hours a day on your business and it's not growing, and then we'll talk."
Right, right. And then, there's perfect, easy tools to do things like this. Like I use Asana. I know, I think you use Trello. Is that right?
Mhm.
Or did you? Yeah. So like Asana project management tool helps me in recognizing where and how I'm spending my time. Even on our phones, it will tell you how much time you're spending on each of those silly social media apps. And so I am a social media coach. Like I can teach you all about the marketing strategies, but if you look at my phone and you see how much time I'm spending on social media, it's my goal is always less than an hour all day.
That's
And I
awesome.
don't ever want it to go above that, because it's not where I get joy. I get joy
Mhm.
in connection and relationship with people. And in order for me to get to that connection point, I have to make sure that the things I'm investing from a business growth strategy model are things that are going to work for me when I'm having the coffee conversation with my friend.
Mhm. For sure. Yeah. I know, I
So
always, like, I miss stuff on social media because I don't spend,
yes.
a ton of time, like, scrolling, which sounds crazy
Yeah,
because I'm always in Instagram, but it's because I'm usually actually, like, corresponding with people,
sure.
like,
Totally.
having real, conversations in my DMs or whatever it might be. I don't spend a ton of the time scrolling unless it's, like, looking for, like, updates on something in particular. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've,
Yeah.
like, looked for, like, COVID stuff on Instagram, like,
Yes,
what's
yes,
happening in
yes,
the
yes. What's
world, right?
happening? Yeah, it's true, because I don't watch the news, so that's the same
Yeah,
for me.
but my friends
But I
that I'm
think
like, "God, I never see your stuff." I'm like, "You gotta get in my algorithm, dude. Hop in my DM."
oh,
And
no,
I'll
don't
see
talk
your
to me about
stuff.
that. That's so frustrating. And that's the thing, like, as far as a delegating piece, for me, some people absolutely love to be in their Instagram and Facebook, and they do feel like it's moving the needle from them from a perspective of business. But because I don't, that was one of the first things that I hired out. I was like, I
Mm,
need you to do my engagement. And I do all my posting, I write all my own stuff, I do all of my responding when somebody comments to me. and all my DMs, but I can't go through and like everyone's picture. And I
Mhm.
can't go through and comment on everything that people are doing. I want to, I love you, I support you, but I don't have the capacity.
Mhm.
So it's been so helpful for me from a growth perspective on social, but I don't have the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I hear you.
So some people don't,
Cool.
yeah, love doing hiring out in that regard, but it's important. It
Yeah,
is important for my family.
I have an intern that's helping me a little bit with some of the
Mhm.
engagement stuff because, I want to like meet new people. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite parts is when she goes in and comments and then, the account comments back. That's when I
Right.
step in and I take that conversation to the next level.
Totally. That's me too. And then it moves into DM, and
Yeah.
that's where I spend my time. I love that.
Yeah. Yes,
I think it's a
exactly.
good strategy for people if that's like how they operate.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So okay, this was so good. Now tell us a little bit about like, obviously where people can find you, but like what's coming up next? What's your next big project?
So I
Besides the
mentioned the
website,
new
that's exciting.
website. I'm
Yeah.
so excited about that. I love like imagery and because I'm such a visual person. So that's going to be really fun to launch. When that launches, I will be launching a new community on a new platform
Ooh,
um, thereafter, which you're going to love and potentially use as well. It's called Mighty Networks.
okay.
So check that out. It's basically the well, I don't know. They say this out loud, so I can say it too. But basically, the antithesis of Facebook. And so it's a place that your community gets to just be your community without
Mhm.
being inundated by ads or the thousand other things pinging in their inbox or their notifications. They're coming specifically to interact and be a part of what it is that you have going. This would be great for your Shine a Light community and the women that you have. So check out Mighty Networks. I'll
Mighty
be
networks.
sharing all of that platform with you guys soon to jump in and be a part. And then also my retreats. So I said at the beginning, like, I still love to host events. I want people to come and be and find that opportunity for themselves to rest and rejuvenate, but also catapult their calling. And so I am blending my mind, body, and soul, like fit and faith retreat with core creatives. And I'm super pumped about this. So in November, I'm hosting my first Ignite retreat, which will be this blend combination where I'm going to bring in specified people who will help in the cultivation of designing your brand and logo. And I'll be coaching on the 6 week to launch plan. So you'll actually leave with tangible, actionable things that are not only accomplished already, but also that you have to put into place over the course of the next 6 weeks so that you can launch this dream that you've been dreaming of in January of 2021.
Very cool. I love
Yeah.
it. And I'll be so curious about the Mighty Network. So I did
Yes,
that
you
with
have to check it out.
I've done that with Slack before, where I set up like a
Okay.
community on Slack.
Yep.
And it's a little different because I feel like Slack, the interface is kind of geared towards like teams. But
Right. This one is so different, and you can actually host your courses inside of it, and you can have all of your topics listed, and it's beautiful. So go check it out. It's a free resource that like we can join as hosts, but then you can make your community a paid option or host paid courses inside of it. So it's beautiful. They've done a
okay,
really
cool. So
good job.
you can set up the recurring revenue.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
cool.
So I've actually, one of the ways that I got turned on to it was that somebody was talking about how they can move. They were just a podcaster. So this is
Mhm.
really relevant for us and other podcasters listening, that they were just podcasting and they had such a beautiful, awesome, engaged community, and they didn't have anywhere that they were going. And
Mhm.
this particular person did not like using Facebook. And so they discovered Mighty Networks, which has been around for a long time. I didn't even realize it. And so they created a paid community to be a part of. It was only $9.99 a month to get into. And now they've almost moved their entire listening audience to this engage platform where everybody who is passionate about what he talks about engages. It's really cool.
I love it. I'll
And
have to check it out.
that's how he runs his podcast, and he never has to do commercials or anything.
Yeah, I have, I love Thinkific, but
Yeah.
there's so
It's like
many
that
other
though.
yeah, there's so many other platforms. Thinkific doesn't have the interactive piece.
Right.
So, right, so
But
we
it's
have to
your I remember being a part of your program and it was so pretty. It was so easy to navigate. I have considered Thinkific when I started launching my courses, but when I discovered this, I was like, it's kind of like all in one.
All in one, yeah, and,
Yeah.
I'm like I like a good onboarding,
Yes.
process, so
Program.
as long
Yeah.
as it can do the
You're good at that.
onboarding, yes.
Definitely. And it's also an app on your phone.
Oh, cool,
Yeah,
okay.
so you can eventually pay and have your own app, your own creative network or Shine a Light app.
Very cool, like, switching sounds a little
Yeah.
beastly, but
I know. Everything change is always hard, but
Mhm,
even looking at it, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm building another program or another social networking thing." So, I don't want people to inundate themselves by just jumping because it sounds fun or free. That's not the
mhm.
point. There's a lot more reasons in the long term that I'm choosing to do this. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Very
I'm
cool. Well,
excited
thank you
about it.
so
But
oh, yeah, and
thank
let people know
you.
where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Tamra.andress on Instagram. My new website, I'm going to tell you that because I don't know when this will air, is tamraandress.com and Tamra Lee Andress on Facebook. And yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram, hanging out in the DMs, as I mentioned, but I'm on Facebook a lot too because that's where I host all of my live virtuals and podcasts. So Fit and Faith podcast is the one that you were on recently. And I thank you for being a guest. It was really fun.
So, are you doing away with, is your website gonna be Tamra Andress, or is it gonna be
It
Fit and Faith
is.
still?
Yep, it'll be tamraandress.com.
Okay, so you're kinda not doing away with Fit and Faith, but that's gonna be just the podcast.
Correct.
Cool, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a whole branding thing. We'll have to talk about that offline because it's been quite the adventure, but
It
it's
always
been
is,
fun.
isn't
It
it?
is, but it's so fun. It gives you like legs to share and insight for others to as they walk through the process. You've already done it, right? That's what we're here for.
Exactly. Well, I was just coaching someone the other day,
Yeah.
about launching their business, and they were like, "I have this cool name for it," and but because I don't really know
Uh-huh.
if I wanna use my name, and I was like, "Girl, let me tell
Yes.
you,
Yes.
everyone, whether it's 3 years later, 6 years later, 10
Yep.
years later, everyone ends up using their name
Yep.
in some capacity because you're gonna find it drives
Yep.
people nuts when they know your business name, but they don't have a face
Don't
to it,
know yours.
right?
Yep, it's so true, and you actually, like, led that front in a local space for me because I feel like a lot of people aren't doing it, and that's exactly what's happening, they're transitioning. So I've been
Mhm.
really conscientious as the girls have come in, I'm like, "I know that I'm telling you something that I'm currently not doing, but it's in my funnel, just hold wait for it, it's gonna happen, but
Mhm.
don't do it wrong from the outset." And that's, as a coach and somebody who's also walking alongside you and holding your hand, I'm learning too. And so people are always teaching me, which I think is really cool. I just have my areas that I love to focus on and help people grow, which is just like any other coach.
Yeah, and it definitely can be done, right? Like, there
Yeah.
are definitely companies out there that have a different name, but
Mhm.
it's like they do a good job of meshing their real persona and their
Yes.
business persona, unless it's not meant to be. But like what you do is totally like in the personal brand alley.
Yeah.
So, like, people want like I would go to someone's profile and I'm like, okay, this is like, sunshine, whatever, but like,
Yeah.
who are you?
Right.
You
It's
know?
so true. It's so true. So that would definitely be a quick one-off tip that she's offering here, y'all. Pick it up. Use
Well,
your
it's like it's
name.
so
Use what
hard
your
in the
mama gave
beginning.
you.
Yeah, it's so hard in
Or
the
your
beginning,
husband.
but it'll save you, like, so much time later
It
on.
really does, and, I'm in the process of writing a book, and so getting that out into the world, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, am I gonna lose everything, all ground that I've made by putting it out there under a name that nobody can find because I've branded this concept versus
Mhm.
branding what I love about the concept, which is, things that I've learned." So, it's neat, but it definitely is a self-check point
No,
because
I love it though, and you
I
can
didn't
totally
want
still
to.
keep the fit and faith with Tamra
Yeah.
Andress. Yes, totally.
100%. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think the biggest thing, and this is where the hindrance point was for me, was I had just come through this space of self-identity and understanding and bringing this back full circle to what we talked about at the beginning, understanding the value of community and that it's not about me at all. And
Mhm.
so even when my girlfriend was designing my business card and she wanted to put my face on it, I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. Like I don't want to be a part of it." And she's like, "But Tamara, it is you. Like without it, it wouldn't be here." I'm
Right.
like, "Shoot, I don't like that you're right. Just make it so you can't see me." So I actually used one of your beautiful photos that you did of me on my business card where you did it through the peach trees.
Oh,
And I
yay.
love that shot because it's me, but it's not really me because you can't
Right.
really see me. But I think I was a happy medium. Next time she's like, next time you're using your face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that one's got some good negative space to work with. I can
Yes,
see
it's
that, I
so
can see
gorgeous.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, thank you, thank you for just being I say this a light, but really you've been such a added mentor locally for me. And I don't think that Virginia Beach has people that are doing quite what you're doing yet. And so thanks for being one foot ahead of the game. I
Oh,
appreciate you.
thanks, thanks. I'm such a words of affirmation person, so thank you for saying
Ah,
that. I'm
of
like, "Yes,
course.
yes, good, good,
Yes,
good."
you are. It's
Sometimes it feels like we're
amazing.
spinning our tires, but the
Girl,
little bit of
right?
differences here and there, you know?
Well, I'm rooting you on and I'm grateful for you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to get this out, and we will continue to chat, and good luck with your retreat, and we will be keeping up with you.
Yes, everybody stay well. We're praying for you. Stay
I know.
sane.
I know, right? All right, thanks, girl.
All right. Bye.
Gosh, isn't it crazy to think about, the way we were viewing the pandemic back in February, March when this was recorded? And it felt like it was going to be so temporary. And here we are almost 6 months later, and we realize that everything is so long term, or I mean, I hate to say permanent, but like schools still aren't all starting in the fall, and we're still dealing with so much unknown. It's just crazy to think about, how much things have evolved and how normal it is now to go to the grocery store and see everyone in face masks when I would have never imagined that possible. Anyway, I did double check with Tamra just a few minutes ago, and everything is still up to date. So her new website is up. So make sure that you guys go check her out, connect with her on Instagram, and say hello. Let her know you found her on the Messy Success podcast. I got to practice saying my own name again. Isn't that crazy? The Messy Success podcast. Here we are. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I have just been working really hard today, and I'm trying to think about just how I can enhance this whole experience, and what kind of content do I want to bring back to the Messy Squad. That's our Facebook group and newsletter, and yeah, all the things. But just in the little bit that I've posted behind the scenes, I've already gotten messages on Instagram saying people are so excited to have the podcast back. So that just gives me all the feelings. You guys know I'm a words of affirmation person, as I just mentioned to Tamra. So just knowing that you guys enjoy the podcast and that you're listening just gives me so much life. So thank you guys for being here. Stay safe during the pandemic, which is going to continue. We're having, a little bit of a spike in cases here in Hampton Roads, at least compared to the rest of the state. But I think overall, the state of Virginia is doing pretty good. And I am still kind of tormenting myself over what to do for the kids in the fall. We know that we're going to be keeping Gracie virtual, but enrolled in her school. And I'm still trying to decide what to do with Maddie, since she would be starting pre-K. But I will keep you guys posted. And I know we're going to be talking more about a lot of the relevant real-time things that are happening in the world. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you at the next episode.